Shut up.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome to Beyond the Bell Live. I am Chris Page. It is a Wednesday evening, February the 11th, technically. We're halfway there, the weekend. More than halfway, actually. The weekend's right around the corner. I know you guys are, ready for it. I am too. There's a lot of things happening. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I hope you guys and gals have got your special loved one something very nice, and hope you have a great day there too. And for some of us, we'll be calling wrestling. I know that's what I'm spending my Valentine's Day on a microphone. Listen, we got a great show tonight. Before we get started, let me get through some quick announcements. For those out there, Chapter 2 Next Level was a fun night. It's in the books, so the edit is done. We are premiering that on Saturday on our YouTube platform. So if you want to see what happened when Devious Cass and GMJ hooked up for the first time in our main event, you probably want to tune in for that. We also had the Pump Line versus Reese Maddox and Kid Kuda, J2 Mattioli and Skrilla the Great. The list goes on and on. 9 big matches. It was a fantastic night. We had almost 60 people, up from 15 from show 1, and it was a great night. I can't wait for you guys to see the finished product if you did not catch it live while we were streaming it on YouTube. But there is no rest for the weary, because Chapter 3 is right around the corner. We're headed to Los Angeles. We're partnering up with our friends at Millennium Pro Wrestling and Primal Pro Wrestling for what will be called Chapter 3, Good Vibrations. It's going to be a weekend of Southern California wrestling at its finest. You'll be able to catch us on the 27th at Millennium Pro Wrestling. You'll be able to catch us on the 28th for our show at the Millennium Wrestling Academy. On the 29th, we're headed down to San Diego for Primal Pro Wrestling. It is going to be one wild weekend. You want to be there. Your tickets for our event at ccppodcasting.com. Let's get into why we're here. Real quick, shout out to everybody who's tuning in. My apologies for being rude. Over on X, I see you. YouTube, we got you there. Over on Twitch as well. Shout out Shannon. Shout out Wilson Dyer. Shout out Goth. You guys get ready. Get locked in. I've been waiting to have this conversation with my guest tonight. We've been watching him for the better part of 2 years. We came across our screen through Superkrazee Pro Wrestling, and we have not turned back since. I would consider him one of the pillars of Superkrazee from what we have seen. And I'll preface that with what we have seen over the last 2 years. He was one of the ones that we really honed in on and just fell in love with what he was doing with his character and his work. Since then, we've had the opportunity to sponsor him a couple of times through our friends at Fightt Pro Wrestling. And, man, I'm just going to get into it. Let's bring him in. It is the one and only Tim Dynamite. Welcome to Beyond the Bell Live, sir. How are you, my man?
How we doing? It's good to be seen.
I am fucking excited to have this conversation. And again, excuse my language. I tend to drop a couple, but I've been waiting since we started doing these shows, right, to even have this conversation with you. And I'm a firm believer that I'm old school, right? Still have to build the credibility of the platform. So before we start jumping in and start sending DMs randomly to people, I wanted to let people to see that we're serious about what we're doing. And now the time has finally come, and I cannot wait to pick your brain, because you've been doing such great stuff, not only from the character, the in-ring work, everything. And to know that you're so young into your career, really, when you look at the bigger picture, it's damn scary how good you are now. And I cannot wait to pick your brain.
Thank you. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Let's dive in. For me, I don't like to jump in immediately with what you're doing right now. I like to start at the beginning. And for me, the beginning is fandom, and where does wrestling intersect, and kind of what was going on in the world around you with what drew you in initially. What was your take?
So for me, it was November 2009, and it was a Saturday. And the reason why I remember that so vividly is because it was, I walked into my aunt and uncle's, and my uncle and my cousin were on the couch watching Friday Night SmackDown. And when I asked, like, what are you guys watching? They said it was Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, me being the age that I was and not understanding how, taping works, was like, what, Saturday? What are you talking about? It's Saturday. And like, no, we taped it, dumbass. Like, that's how it works. So it's like, oh, okay, I got it. And yeah, it was Undertaker and Chris Jericho. I believe they were in the UK. And what was really funny about that is this is around the time. So my cousin and I are about a year apart from each other. We're actually like 51 weeks apart. So like our birthdays are within a week stretch of each other, but again, 51 weeks apart. So like we were always kind of at each other's necks, just didn't want to, think that the other was cooler than the other. So again, wrestling was new to me. I had no idea. So of course I asked the question, what's this guy doing in his underwear? What's going on? Like, again, very simple questions for a child to try and, understand the concept of what's
Logical
happening in front of
questions
them.
to ask for the first time.
So they're telling me what it is. They're telling me who these guys are. And my uncle loves to stir the pot, loves to create competition. He goes, who do you think's going to win? And I go, I don't know. Who you guys think is going to win? And they both said Undertaker. Very logical. That's the direction they were going. They knew the product. I didn't. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just go with Undertaker. And then my cousin goes, I'll just pick Chris Jericho then, because he didn't want to pick the same guy that I picked. He wanted us to always there had to be a winner and a loser. We both couldn't win. We both couldn't lose. Had to be decisive. So like, all right, well, I'll just pick Chris Jericho. I trusted his opinion a little more, and he's like, oh, I'm picking the Undertaker. I'm like, all right, then I'll pick the Undertaker. And eventually my uncle's like, all right, settle out. All right, make your picks. And I'm like, all right, I'm going with Undertaker. He goes, I'll go with Chris Jericho. And I think the finish was Big Show made a run in. Jericho was a thing at this time, made a run in. Undertaker got the DQ win. So I was right. But again, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And now here comes Kane, Undertaker's supposed brother. Again, all this is just boom, boom, boom. All this information just hitting you. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. What happened? I didn't know what was going on. It's like, all right. They ran me through everything. And then immediately after, they aired a vignette for the Brothers of Destruction. It's the same vignette I think they put out on their DVD release later, in like 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing ever. Look at these guys. They're beating everybody up. And it's like they were, supernatural and everything like that. Like, I wasn't into supernatural stuff, but like I'm into cool stuff. And what I considered that, like the way that they were operating, I thought it was really cool. Everybody feared them, respected them. I was a little short kid, smallest kid in my class, had nobody scared of me. So I'm like, I got to latch onto these guys because I got to pick their brains on how to, carry some respect, get people to respect me. And yeah, was hooked on ever since. Undertaker became my guy. I got to learn the product a little more, and as the years went on. But what was always so funny is I feel like I was in a very small demographic that just didn't get John Cena as a kid, and it had nothing to do with his inability to be a good guy. It had everything to do with the fact it was back-to-back scenarios where I was a SmackDown guy because Undertaker was on SmackDown. That's all I cared about was the Undertaker. And then when I first saw John Cena, he was yelling at Sheamus on my TV screen, and Sheamus had a boo-boo face on, like it was really getting to him. Like, gosh, this guy's being mean, yelling at this poor guy, this poor pale guy. Like, what's going on here? I don't get it. Like, I forget that guy. And again, of course, you learn as you watch more and more of it, and yeah, like it's just been an obsession, addiction, whatever you want to call it. And that's where we're at.
I got you, man. Like I remember when I got bit, it was I'm an '80s child, obviously, so I was, and I'm Southern as well. I'm from Alabama originally, but so I was obviously into the NWA and Southern wrestling and wrestling, as my folks used to say, but. The Undertaker is someone. It's funny that you mentioned that was someone who drew you in, because when I first saw him was at the debut, right? Dude was legitimately the only professional wrestler that scared me, because I was
the size of them ham hocks,
brother. I was I think I was like 8 maybe at that point when he debuted, and from 8 to 10 for sure. I was afraid of the Undertaker, and it was the only guy. He was the only wrestler. That and actually, there's 2. Doink the Clown, because I fucking hate clowns.
That's fair.
But those are the only 2, and Taker was one of those ones that obviously, even to this day, he's legendary for a reason. Like you
caught Undertaker at a bad time. That is a terrible time to get introduced to the Undertaker, because that is a time where he rested in that, because eventually he became ultra supernatural, which is when I caught him. Mm-hmm. But like you caught him in that uncanny valley phase. You caught him when he was like, is he dead? Is he not dead? Then you had the greatest taters in the world. You got Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan putting this guy over. You got Bobby Heenan after he drops his, these poor enhancement talents on their head, just drive. I remember the one that I was watching back. The guy like took like the Randy Orton like cell bump off it. Gross. And then he's like crossing the arms. You know, at the time, if you had Brother Love with the rose, and if you had Paul Bearer with the urn, and you got the body bag, and you had Bobby Heenan, lock your doors, he's loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, you got to think too. Like, so he when he debuted at Survivor Series, literally destroyed everybody. A year later, beats Hogan for the championship, even though lost it back, but a couple days later. Terrible booking.
So glad you bring that match up, because that is one of those matches that I recommend all talents to tape study when it comes to little intricate character moments. Because everything had to be so grandiose back then. Everything. And pro wrestling has always been about, the grandiose stuff. But like Undertaker as a character was all about the subtleties. Like, yeah, he would make those big slow movements, but like I always think about like the momentum shift. Like that was a crowd that really, like, you had pro Hogan, fans in there, but they were really starting to light up for the Undertaker at that time. And it's crazy how much a year changes. I remember the part where Hogan's trying to, get a little hope spot on him. He's giving the clotheslines. Undertaker's not bumping. He takes the big one that, he backtracks from the ropes, comes off with the leaping clothesline, and you hear the whole crowd like, yeah, drop that some bitch, that red and yellow some bitch, that tan big bald some bitch. Like that's what the vibe. And I watched that and I go, you have to like look at what the culture of pro wrestling was at the time, and you have to understand like Undertaker was the attraction in that match. It's so crazy. Because you have Hulk Hogan, but the crowd was really ready for the Undertaker. And if you just watch the movements, the way that they pace it, God, yes, that's like, it's one of my favorite matches, and genuinely something that I will go back at least once a year to watch, just to pick it apart a little more, just to take some little, quirks here and there.
It's a good one. The psychology behind it is great. And you talked a minute about the slow movements, and that's one of the ones where obviously back in that day of Taker, he didn't do a whole lot because he didn't have to. Again, the slow movement, he would just go for the throat and just force you back into the corner. And then, again, back into the corner. Like, he would just overpower you. It was just, I don't know, he was scary. He's just a scary guy at the time. Like, I don't know. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Because it was like he would do like the choke slam every so often, but his go-to really at the time was to catch him in the choke and just drive him down on the canvas. It was kind of like a makeshift STO kind of deal, but it was just out in the open, and it was very obvious a choke, and he just get down on the guy and just wrench that, and you just, again,
very early inceptions, dude. And you talk about it. And that's Taker is also one of those guys that is, as far as like evolution of character, as you say, when you come across him, that you talk about somebody who evolved with the times. I was chatting with, I've had a lot of conversations over the last week. I can't remember. We were talking about Triple H. Triple H was one of the guys' favorites. And I was like, well, as far as the evolution of character goes, he was another one that evolved with the times, from a blue blood to, transitioning into DX and transitioning into the cerebral assassin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody outside of nobody. Taker was the man when it came to the ultimate transition of evolving a character. I think the guy stands in a class of his own.
As a kid, like I said, Undertaker, Supernatural Undertaker was my guy, at the time. Like, I always, when I would talk about it, I'd be like, you had everybody gunning for this guy. You had, Rey Mysterio, Batista, CM Punk, they were all vying for the world title. You had Edge win the Rumble later in the early stages of 2010, and, was thinking about maybe I go after Undertaker. And so you've got all these like SmackDown talents after the Undertaker, but then also you had Shawn Michaels on Raw throwing out challenges, subtle or not so subtle towards this guy. And it's like, to me, that's what made the Undertaker like the guy, because everybody wanted that fight. And like, that's why, like, it sounds crazy, the big gold belt, that's Undertaker for me. Again, I know people say Flair. Some people might say Triple H. Some people that are a little younger might also feel like a Batista fits in that role a little better for them. That vision, like that WWE version of the world title, the big gold. But for me, it was Undertaker. And I would get the Deadliest Matches DVD sets and the Gravest Matches sets, and I would just watch all the old school stuff. And I would always skip over the American Badass stuff, because, like, to me, that wasn't like my Undertaker. But now being 23, and again, just trying to absorb everything about pro wrestling, just because there are things that aren't that. I'll get into a very short example in a second, but like that version of the Undertaker, the American Badass, is now my preferred Undertaker to go back and watch.
Yep.
Because I think about the Flair angle where he's just torturing everybody that he loves. And then the moment Flair finally snaps, he's like, I'm not having fun with this anymore. Like, you kind of, like, I don't even think I want to fight you anymore. And Flair's like, what do you mean? Like, you did all, it's like, that's so great. You have Triple H, like we were just talking about. Like, that was when he and Hogan and Undertaker, I think all three of them, like, interchangeably were in that undisputed title picture, and Angle had just shaved his head bald, and you had Undertaker see the toupee, and he's like looking, and then he's got to talk to Vince over here, so he's kind of like, and then gives it's little subtle facial expressions, and then like I just saw like a new upload that went out of some of his rarest matches. I think it dropped today or yesterday, and there was a Chris Nowinski segment that he did. It was Undertaker, Nowinski, and Bischoff. And Bischoff and Nowinski were going at it, and you could tell like Nowinski wanted to fight. He had like this energy. He's like, all right, since you want to get into a fight, I'll give you the chance to get that out. You can have a match with the Undertaker right now. And Nowinski, being such a genius heel, I don't think he gets enough credit personally for like, first of all, such a saint to the business, but again, such a student of the game at that time, took that moment and was like, you can't tell Undertaker what to do. You can't have this match just because you said so. You can't tell Undertaker what to do. Like that was his way of weaseling out of the match. And it was like, oh my goodness, for somebody like me who likes to play a little bit more of a chicken shit from time to time, like that is such a good, like I have to now modify it because I made it public, but that's where I got it from. But I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that for something, because you could always learn something and take something. And like, yeah, that like for me now, circling back to the overall picture with Undertaker evolving and all that stuff, as a kid, it was like that supernatural Taker. But now, like for me, 23-year-old Tim, like that's like the American Badass. There's so much good stuff to watch.
There's a lot of substance the entire way around. That's definitely someone that's really good to fall in on for sure. Real quick, I want to go over to the chat because we got some people that are lighting things up. Goth said, first of all, let me scroll back up. I want to make sure I get your statement 100% correct, because it's very rare that I get an opportunity to say this. Thank you for using a proper DDT as a finish.
I have such a funny. Okay, so there's a gentleman. His name's Preacher. He's a trainer. He's trained the likes of Marcus Mathers, Jordan Oliver, Casey Navarro. He's got a list of students that are now out doing it that were under his tutelage. And very briefly, I never got to like train under him directly. In fact, literally like a couple months ago was the first time I got to sit in and do a class with him over at the Worldwide Dojo. But prior to that, like we were both over at a organization H2O, which is it no longer exists, but that was an organization based out of Jersey. And he had told me, because I was talking about like moves that I wanted to do. I'm like, I want to do a Blue Thunder. This was my mindset. I want to do a Blue Thunder bomb, but I want to drop to my knees, and I don't want to spin with the guy. I just want to spin the guy, because nobody's doing that. Now, of course, sign of the times, everybody's doing moves like that, including both Mathers and Cass, who I'm convinced stole that from me, because that was the move that I was like hitting and trying to tell everybody, like, that's the move that I'm doing. And they're, those move thieves. But he had told me at the time, he goes, you know what I don't see anymore? I don't see anybody using a DDT. And like, to me, that sounded so boring. It's like, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that could be a good idea. But I'm, again, immature 19-year-old doesn't, I'm learning as we go along. I'm like, what does this guy know? Look at wrestling's different now. DDT, you can't make that a finish. Lo and behold, I got to a point where I'm like, I was doing the punt kick very, very briefly. And that was something that one of my trainers said, like, you should try. And what ended up happening is people just weren't covering up, because it's one of those moves that you do, like, at the independent level, you have to hit it. You can't, there's no camera tricks. You can't like angle the camera, like and the people aren't so far back that like it happens too fast, they can't see it. People are watching right then and there. So if I whiff on that, it kills the whole thing. So I'm lighting these guys up. I'm being safe, but I'm lighting these guys up, and they're just not putting hands up. And after the second guy, had a red mark on his face, I'm like, all right, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy that's going around kicking people's heads off. So I switched it. I'm like, all right, I got to come up with another basic move that I can hit on everybody. And then it was like, I think we're going to have to do it. I think we're going to have to do it. And it's funny, if you look at someone like those earlier DDTs, like I think I'm now just starting to kind of figure out like that snap to it, but like those first ones, it was kind of like a fall with it. And I remember I would watch those back and I'd be like, it's not as cool as I thought I could make that look. And then I would like make conceited efforts to like think about like, what am I missing? And what I determined was that I just wasn't throwing myself back, hard enough, like that is a part of the impact of it, is that visual of you just whipping your body back to show that you're really trying to drive. And I'm like, oh, that's it. And I hit a really good one at the 2300 for the Monster Factory's last show, which is now Lineage Pro Wrestling. Hit it in their Rumble match, and I saw that. I went, there it is. That's exactly how it needs to look. And that's what I've been doing since. So I appreciate the fact that everybody's so happy about that. I wish I wasn't so stubborn to the concept initially, because I could have been doing that the whole time. Especially when you got somebody like, in my opinion, you got somebody like Adam Priest, who also will use a DDT as a finish, and his looks gross. So it's like, I gotta like, I'm looking at that, like I'm watching everything. I'm like, I gotta kind of stack up to that if I'm gonna start, trying to make that a finish for me as well. Everybody talks about Jake and stuff like that. That's easy, but like, he's not wrestling anymore. You got to stack up to people who are doing it now. Everybody does the DDT right now. I think you got two guys definitely using it as a finish, which is me and Adam Priest. And I'm just trying to keep up with him. That's really what it is.
I'm gonna tell you, man. Here's the deal. Like, and you just take it from somebody who's 20. You say you're what, 23? I'm 20 years older than you, right? So take it from somebody who's 20 years older. When you look at the lineage of wrestling, and you see where, for guys my age, when we came in, the DDT was a finish. It was there was no kick. There was no nothing. That was it. It was over, El Finito. And through the progression of wrestling, it transitioned into just a spot in the match. And even today and nowadays, most of it's just a random kick. It's like a super kick. It's a Canadian destroyer. It's like the magic gets taken away from it.
Ain't that a sumbitch? The destroyer.
I'm just saying, yeah. But so
insane to me.
When you see someone who does use that as a finish, it is automatically going to connect with guys like me and fans of our age and this upper age echelon of wrestling fans, because it takes us back to a time that for us was probably the greatest time in professional wrestling. So it's like it's an instant nostalgia. It's an instant callback. It's an instant, yeah, that's when times were right. Like, it's just one of those things. When it comes to a move, it will connect with people, and you don't even realize it, and you don't even know it's happening when it happens. But that's just a piece of like why I think people are like, damn, the DDT, because it's not. It's just a transition spot nowadays, and when you hit the DDT, it's rare that it's kicked out of. Within Superkrazee for sure, because again, we've watched for the last several years. Rare. And so when it does happen, it means something. And that's where I think the connection comes in, is because you can take a move and you can make it mean something, and you've done that.
I appreciate that. That was kind of a big deal in like the locker room meetings, because there's also like that culture again. Like, I know that there's people out there that hate when people like in the business like are so openly transparent about how everything, like the inner workings of everything is. But like, like it's just the way it is. Like, I don't have a problem, sharing this. I would be in those locker room meetings before the show, and I would get up on a chair and be like, it's like, all right, any questions, any final thoughts? I'd be like, hey, I don't care what else you do on the show, just please don't hit a regular standing DDT. Don't kick the guy in the gut and drop him with a DDT, because I'm really trying to make that a finish. Just because, like, you can't dictate that everywhere. You know, like if I go somewhere, you know, heck, even 15 minutes up the road, I won't be able to like um, tell that story and really put that over. But for Superkrazee to have the opportunity to have at least one match per month with the same fans in the audience, I have the ability to try to tell that story so that when Rulo does kick out of the DDT, and that's the first time that anybody ever kicks out of it, it gets, and I was sweating that out. I'm like, because we went to it, and I'm like, oh gosh, did we go to it too quick? I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I feel like we're like 5 minutes into this, and I feel like we called like 15 minutes. Like, all right, here we go. We hooked the leg, we kicked out. And thank goodness they came up for it, and I got to be able to, you know, the ref Jimmy Deacon, saint, sweetheart of a guy, allowed me to like shake him around, like, hey, what do you mean he kicked out? You know, really put that over. And then I crawl over to hard cam side, and there's a little nooch with the Rome cam. He's one of our camera guys. He gets the nice tight shot, always gets really good shots for us. And here comes Storm swooping in, like, there's three, yeah, there's three. And it, like, to me, if all of those pieces didn't form together in that moment at that time, I don't think you get like that. Like, it took all that time. And like now I know that, like, I'm not looking to have that as like, just because now I know I can tell that story. I still want to preserve that move when I can. You know, I still want it to be, you know, not to give away finishes, you know, for future matches, but I would like people to still feel like when they see the DDT, that's wraps. You know, we're not going anywhere else. You know, if the time calls for it and it makes sense, you know, like that's pro wrestling. But,
Yeah, I mean, the story dictates that, right? Like, obviously, that's a piece of it, but it's just great to see that it's being, I don't know, just respected at the end of the day, because you know, for me, I go back to now. It had already been Jake had already created it when I saw it, because I saw obviously Jake in the mid '80s, but obviously in the WWF, and then through watching old stuff back, saw and heard the story of how it even became a thing, and then just to know like just how the organic nature of it is. But it's just refreshing at the end of the day. Over in chat too, Wilson Dyer is not only a former guest of Beyond the Bell, he is active here in the state of Florida. And fun fact, when we get to the end of the show, as you know, I always ask people that they want to get in the ring with. The first time that he was on Beyond the Bell, your name came out of his mouth. And
really,
I marked the fuck out. I'm not gonna lie. I think I still have the clip somewhere. It's old. It's old. It's like a year old. I think I marked the fuck out because no one had ever mentioned your name on the show before. It was just one of those moments. He's in chat. It was talking about how we're talking about the Undertaker. Excuse me. How it was a great time for wrestling. Samael Fawzi, the president of the Fawzi Nations here, says that's my tag partner. F you, Tim.
I can't stand that guy. Like, we team because we have to, and we're finally it's starting to make sense. But like then he says stuff like that, and it's like, I could just leave you in the ring, bro. Like, I could just leave you there. We can figure it out, you know?
Yeah. As we're going through comments, it looks like over on YouTube, Brandon Jolly Comedy. I'm not sure who this is. You know, someone who looks up to the Undertaker, you sure do a lot of ducking this fade. Stop running and give me that 1v1. I don't know who this is.
Now that I know that I know who that is.
Okay.
I know who that
All
is,
right,
and
well,
now that I can actually, I was gonna make a joke about it next time I actually got the chance to talk about him. But now that he's dropped full government name, I don't have to ask the question if that's his real name. But that's Marquis. This is a guy, respectfully, and hold on, before I give this guy my attention for a second, to Wilson, I appreciate the fact that you want to throw down. I have no problem. Name the time and place, and I'll show you how we do things in the mean streets of Royersford, Pennsylvania. But for Marquis, his issues with me stem from this right here, which is still in my possession. So this is the Pro Wrestling R Rise Championship. Now, I will forgive you if you don't know what that is, or that you wouldn't even know that I was holding it, because through no fault of my own, I've only had maybe 2 successful title defenses with this championship because Pro Wrestling R has been on hiatus for the better part of a year now, but they're coming back March 14th, 3.14 Pi Day, live from the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, for their Blueprint event, where I'm going to defend the championship in a triple threat match against the mythical fighter, Brando Lee, and the top of the food chain, Bobby Buffet. And coincidentally, the name that's absent from that match is Marquis, who I defeated to win this championship when it was vacated by former champion Tiger the Great Watson. And like my deal with him specifically is that like I actually like respect him as a competitor because I've shared the ring with him and taken enough shots from this guy to know that he knows how to throw down and he means business, and he has what it takes to hold this Pro Wrestling R Rise championship. The problem I have with Marquis is I just don't like the dude. I don't like the guy at all because he talks so much. Everybody, I'm sure, is real quick to see, me talk about that and talk in that context and go, well, you're name dropping and talking about Devious Cass. You're making all these heinous comments because it's accurate comments. What I'm saying about him is accurate. What I feel about him, these are real feelings that are genuine, and the statistics of how everything lines up are true, and everything lines up like that for a reason. But you got somebody like Marquis who is simply just talking because he wants to pick a fight and challenge for this Rise title when he hasn't earned it yet. Now, he's talking a big game because he probably assumes my plate is full between the triple threat match defending this Rise title at the Blueprint event for Pro Wrestling R, as well as my upcoming matchup the night before with Devious Cass. But the reality is, any place, anytime Marquis wants to show up and throw down, he could show up to the Skid Row Academy on a Monday or a Thursday from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And unlike Devious Cass, when he tried to do the same thing, I will be welcoming his presence so we can settle things. Now, what are you going to do, Marcus? What are you going to do now? And by the way, Marquis, you should know by now I hate guys named Marcus with a double M initial, all right? Like, I don't understand why this guy is trying to stir the pot and try to punch up to somebody with the competition. By the way, nice hand sign. Looks cooler when the Miz and I do it. But the point of the matter is that you, Marquis, can earn your opportunity. I believe in you. But if you just want to talk your talk, why don't you walk your walk and show up? I don't have a problem with that. Again, let me put this in my notes real quick because I want to make sure, like I do have some notes here because I don't want to gloss over anything. We've already done this podcast, I don't know how long, and I like to go off on tangents. But again, Pro Wrestling R presents the Blueprint March 14th. That is a month from now, and you have all the time in the world to catch my attention and catch me beforehand and catch a fade if you want to. I'll show you how we do things in the mean streets of Royersford, Pennsylvania. In the meantime, know your place. Understand where the totem pole ranks. Understand why I am the Pro Wrestling R Rise champion. Thank you very much. I'm so glad we got to talk about that. It might not have been the manner in which I wanted to talk about that because, again, I don't get why he wants to punch up like that when he can just earn his way to the opportunity. He wants to take the shortcuts, just like Devious Cass loves taking shortcuts. All these guys. Again, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. See, like you never know what happens when you're live. You don't ever know who's going to come in. You don't know what's going to.
If you're interested, I do have to plug this. If anybody is interested, Pro Wrestling R's Blueprint event tickets are on sale now. You can go to the bio of the Pro Wrestling R Instagram page at Pro Wrestling R. Parental permission is not required. You've got permission from your current Rise champion.
Well, he does respond. He says, the lies you tell, it's all good. I have something for you. Thanks for the invite. I'll see you soon. You may have some company coming. I do have a question for you about that event. Champ, are they looking for sponsors? Can we sponsor the champ for that show? And who do I need to talk to?
That is a good question.
Who do I need to talk to?
I'll tell you what. I would hit up the Pro Wrestling R Rise page directly, or the Pro Wrestling R Instagram page directly. there are individuals that, like, I don't know if they want their names out there known that they're the ones in operations over there right now, but there are people that
I'll
are
hit
there
them
that you
up.
can absolutely
I will hit.
get in contact with. And
I,
again,
I will hit them up, and then you also just put the little. You have direct contact, so you put a little bird in their ear,
yeah, for sure,
to
for sure.
let
I
them
gotta
know
tell
that.
you though, this title is kind of heavy. I want to keep holding it the entire time, but it's a heavy championship title, and I would hold it the entire time if I could. Unfortunately, Marquis doesn't know what that feels like, so he wouldn't relate to it. But whatever. Here we are.
Mr. Fawzi said, "Fuck Tim, keep going." So, I mean,
That's my tag partner.
that's
That's
right.
my tag partner.
Yes, sir. So listen, so we come across you in Superkrazee, obviously, and you've done a lot there. Short of winning tag titles, I believe. Is that safe to say? Like, you outside of that, I mean,
Yeah,
you've done.
there's definitely some accolades that need to be checked off the bucket list. I definitely the SKPW tag titles are certainly on there. They're bringing back the live
I
championship, which
saw
I
that.
think will be the first time it's been brought back in, I think, a year or two. It's definitely been 2 years, I'm pretty sure, because like that title was retired while we were still operating in Westville, and that was 2022, like late 2022, early 2023. Um, but I haven't captured the women's championship. Like
Well, I
well,
mean,
all the titles, all the titles.
I
I
think
want them all.
I
I want
think
every title.
I think this evolution that you've been on, correct me if I'm wrong. I really think the last 14 months, like there's just been the shift into growing into being a professional wrestler that I have been able to sit back and see. And this is from a series of matches that span going back to your United States Championship run. You held that belt for almost a year, and it was a tremendous run. Anyone that got in the ring with you, you had a way, and you collectively too, because it obviously takes two to tango, to put forth some really competitive fucking matches that made the championship. I feel made it, from what I have seen in my tenure of watching the company over the last couple of years. I'll say that, because I don't know who had it before and I don't know what was done before. But from what I've seen, like, it really established that championship as a belt that you want to have. And along the way, we get to go back, right? Because once we see the initial, well, fuck, man, it makes me want to go see more. Well, now I start seeing this work with you and Fawzi. I see work with you in a very, very young Devious Cass. I see work with you're really your ascension, and it's something that's really a fucking sight to behold. To be 23 years old and to know that, like, I've made this statement very publicly to several people, including Ernie, when it comes to you and Dynamite and, excuse me, you and Fawzi and Cass. Like, you guys are ones that are on the radars. Like, I feel like people are watching you, and I feel like people are watching you for the right reasons, because you guys are going to be the guys that are going to be in this next, within the next 3 to 5, are going to be in the next crop that will be going and be on mainstream television. Where, couldn't tell you. What company, don't know. Either one of them, all of them would be lucky to have you. So I'm real curious. When did you know that you were really hitting this groove amongst this last run? Because, like I said, it's been about the last, I'd say, 13, 14 months for sure. But over the last 6 to 8, it just seemed like it was hitting this next gear, especially over the course of 2025.
So what's really funny is prior to, which I alluded to before we went on the air, Trunks Dynamite, God forbid. Um, Prior to that, a lot of who I am as a character presentation now was what I was presenting before that, especially back at the old building for Superkrazee. So I came in as a good guy, and when you force a good guy that nobody knows down the throats of people that like have seen cool shit before, and they see this dork, and I was like, I'll be the first to admit, always got to work on the physique and tighten up, but like at the time it was like Like I didn't even know what canner was. I didn't know how to like manscape properly. Like it was like what is that? What is this? Like my body looked like an old lady's leg, and it just like we don't need to see that. So yeah, they booed me. It was like, all right, we gotta switch it up. Turned heel on Samael Fawzi, who has always been like the guy at Superkrazee, like the measuring stick and the consistent fan favorite, good, bad, or indifferent. However, his presentation was like that's their guy. So it legitimized me right off the bat to them, and then I kind of got saddled in this role of like what I talked about earlier, the chicken shit role. And at the time, I was just kind of sick of it. You know, I was kind of sick of people not taking me seriously. And I feel like when I would wrestle matches, I wasn't being taken seriously by veterans or the fans. Like, I don't think anybody took me serious. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I didn't like give them a reason to take me serious. And it was up to me to give them a reason, but I didn't. And instead of recognizing that at first, I decided, well, I got to be a babyface. Because by the time we got to Gloucester City, where we operate out of now, and started performing in front of a separate audience, because that audience that we were performing in front of Westville were indie wrestling fans. And like we were the facility that everybody wanted to rent out. You know, all the top independents wanted to come in and rent out that facility. And so when we migrated to the smaller Gloucester City venue, and it was kind of a bit more like a community vibe as opposed to wrestling fans, like they just loved the fact that I was the only guy on the show that wasn't just wrestling. Like I was in my matches giving, like I was chirping at the fans and I was doing stuff, and they loved that. And it got to a point where it started to shift the perspective. And it's like, all right, I guess we gotta turn babyface here. And so I'm like, all right, if I'm going to be babyface, I also got to strip away everything that made me like lame, which is what I thought of myself. I'm like, I gotta toughen up a bit. I'm like, all right, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna switch trunks, and we're not gonna do the arrogant, you know, upper class guy anymore. We're just gonna try to be as authentically me as I possibly can. And we cut the hair. We cut it short, which is how I've always preferred to wear my hair anyway. Funny story, the promoter of Superkrazee prefers my hair looking like this, which is why I grow it out. But it's just a look. And, you know, he has a vision for what he wants out of me, and if I can at least try to do that to the best of my ability while I'm there, I wanna do that. But at the time, like, all right, here we go. Cut the hair, trunks, and it's just like I stripped away everything that made me special. Genuinely, everything that made me special, which was this. This is what I had that I know for a fact, like it's been the biggest compliment that I've gotten every step of the way, no matter how, like whatever it was like, you at least know how to promote yourself and talk about yourself. Mm-hmm. And so it came time to, you know, deviate from that. And gosh, man, I was boring. That's all I was at that point. I was just boring. Like there was everything that I did was so fundamentally sound because I wanted it to be. I wanted like my strikes to be sound. I wanted my the way I hit the ropes to be nice and crisp. I wanted, you know, every movement I did, it had to be flawless. I was going for like Randy Orton. Like that's what I wanted. But I'm not Randy Orton. And Randy Orton's still cool. And yeah, it was very quickly that like everyone around me was like, you know, like what happened? Like, you know, you used to like have a little something to you, and like you pissed all that away for the sake of what? Trying to, you know, look tougher. Like you're 5'7", 5'8", maybe on a good day, you know, 175. Like you're already like that, like smaller guy. You're not going to all of a sudden be taken as a legitimate threat when you're standing across the ring from these like
right
big strong dudes, just because now you carry yourself with a little bit more confidence in like as opposed to arrogance. And it's like, you're right, I have to switch this up. And so we made the switch, and it was it was like the switch into the character was very quick, but the settling into the look took some time because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I sat there and I went, all right, what can I do to make myself me? And I went, all right, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to settle on a color scheme. You know, not a lot of wrestlers really stick to a color scheme. And it's funny because in that run, I did several different color sets of gear. But like that initial set, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pick a color scheme. And I'm like, well, I'm from Royersford. That's part of my presentation. The mean streets of Royersford, Pennsylvania, a la Chael Sonnen. And my school, which I actually happened to live directly across from the high school, the colors are blue and gold. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do blue and gold. That's the color scheme. So we did the tights, and we went back to it. I didn't like the initial look because I was doing tights and I had knee pads underneath and like these horribly like bulky white boots. And so it's like, all right, we got to switch that up a bit. And that's when I switched to the kick pads. I never wanted to be a kick pads guy. Everybody wears kick pads. You be the boots guy. And to this day, I still try to find reasons to have boots. I mean, I have a pair of boots literally sitting like directly out of frame because I was like earlier today thinking like, how can I get this back in the look? You know what I mean? It's just what I've always preferred. But it also is like it's a chore to like really lace them up. And I can get zipper boots, you know what I mean? That's not an issue. But sometimes you can't guarantee that they're always going to fit, even if they're zippers and laces. So like all this stuff is what I'm thinking about. And eventually I'm like, we're just going to learn on the fly. We're just going to learn out there. We have to, you know, ultimately as an independent wrestler, that's what you're going to have to do anyway. So I'm like, I'm just going to learn while I'm out there. So we did Rulo. And what's so funny about that US title run is that was supposed to be like a complete and total shoot, the open challenge, complete and total like shoot. But again, totem pole here, recognizing where you're at. Nobody knows what Superkrazee is or who Tim Dynamite was, or is for that matter of fact. But like nobody was interested. Like the people that were interested were like, again, people that nobody's ever heard of. And that's where we came into, contact with Rulo. And I was really hoping somebody like if anything, I was really aiming for like an Alec Price level talent. Like that's just ego talking. Like, oh, well, somebody's going to want to, do something here. And it was Rulo. And it was like, I looked at everybody who answered, and Rulo to me visually was the most unique, especially contrasted with me. Mm-hmm. And so we started there, and then we built upon that. And then because we had to pivot and make it not a shoot anymore, we turned it into a storyline with the Commissioner Duval stuff, which is where I now got to like showcase a little bit more of that rebellious side. And it's like Austin and Vince, but like total opposite, where it's like, you hate this rebel guy, this guy that's trying to stick up, because he's not really trying to stick up for what's right. He's sticking up for himself. He cares about himself. That was the spin that I wanted to put on it. And so, we walked into like Nick Batee, who I love and is a phenomenal talent. And we went through Batee, and then we landed on Tremont. And that was where it was like, okay, we got to figure this out. And what was so funny is like, I'm actually, again, like, because I was going through a bunch of gear, like I have right here sitting next to me the Tremont gear.
Yes, sir.
I put together for that match. And so I wanted, again, visual contrast. I tanned up like nobody's been. I put like 3 coats of self-tanner on, and I wore the brightest, sparkliest shit that I could possibly come up with, so that when contrasted with the very pale, very scarred up, decked out in black clothing Matt Tremont, visually it's like boom, boom. You get where we're going with this. We try to make it dummy proof for everybody. That's a phrase that Adrian Soriano likes to use when he's my trainer. He likes to like, that's his logic mind. Make it dummy proof for everybody. Like that's how I made it dummy proof.
I call it idiot proof, but I get it. I love Soriano for that.
So then from there we landed Will Ferrara, who is a current TNA producer and former Ring of Honor talent, and trainer for a lot of guys that you see, on the independents right now. And so it's like, oh, now we're starting to like have different matches. The Tremont match was different than the Batee match. And I completely left out Harley Lopez. Didn't mean to do that. But like, again, like now we do a women's match, like an intergender match. Again, everything was different. And we're just trying to learn how to place this character in these scenarios so that when the time comes to come back to that, I'll be prepared for it the next time. I have to throw myself into that, into the fire, the proverbial fire, to like get there. So we walk through, and then, we did Ferrara, and then we did the match with Fawzi, and we paid off like, all right, we're switching to the Duval match. Like, this is where we're going. and Sienna Duval was very generous to give me her last match. She has made it clear that she will never wrestle again, because she used to wrestle on the independents, and she she was away from it for a while, and she was like, I'll come out just for this, because she believed in what I was trying to build. And so, funny enough, like the nickname The Crucible, which I thought was a badass name, got it from obviously the movie, because that was like what we had to read in high school. But then I dove into like what the word meant, and like if you find definitions of it, it kind of fits the story. But I was like, I love that nickname. But she had asked, because that character, that nickname started with our program, and since we put that to bed, she asked, she goes, if you wouldn't mind, I would love to like put a cap in that as well. So you will not hear me, branding as The Crucible anymore. So it's like, okay, now we took the training wheels off. Now we really have to go. Like, you don't get to leech on to like a really badass nickname. Like, now you have to like make Tim Dynamite on its own stand out and pick up. And thankfully, my best friend, for real, best friend, known him since fucking 8th grade. Genuinely one of the coolest people ever, and is an absolute saint for putting up with me all these years. Gets to come back in because he started with me at Superkrazee when I first got to Superkrazee, because it wasn't my first school, but once I got there, he came with, and then he had to go away. He had to go handle family stuff and really step up and kind of. It was a tough period for him, but he always knew he wanted to come back. He comes back just at the right time when I needed him, because like, all right, where are we going from here? Here we go. And then it just so happened that the Marcus Mathers match fell into our lap. I wasn't supposed to wrestle Mathers that time. So like, I've wrestled him twice before, and I'd always talk about, all right, you got one, I got one. When we go at it the third time, the rubber match, I'm gonna take it. But like, I was like, fucking who knows when that's gonna happen.
Right.
This guy's everywhere. I'm nowhere. Let's call it like it is. Let's be realistic here. And then it just fell, and like, he was like, hey, I got nothing going on this weekend. You got a spot? It was like, well, I was gonna do an enhancement match because we were trying to reinstate the presentation now, adding Storm, and it was like, in the grand scheme of things, Wrestling Mathers was the perfect way to kick it off. We smacked him with the shoe. We beat him with the DDT. Boom. Legitimizes both of those spots in our story. And so like, now we go into Jose Zamora, who is viral right now. And God bless him, dealing with a shoulder injury. He's going to be on the shelf for a while. But, another guy that's just really starting to break out and really was making a name for himself at the social media level. And, same deal. Hit him with the shoe, beat him with the DDT. It's like, okay, we're catching a rhythm here. Like, that's where I feel like I caught the rhythm. Everything that I just talked about, and forgive me for the ramble, like, this is all these details that come out. But like, this is where we really start to kick into high gear here. It's like, now the pieces are starting to fall into place. So we go through Zamora, and then we go into Rulo. And I purposely picked that match in October because that's the 1-year anniversary. And it's like, all right, Rulo's a different character. How can we tell this story? Rulo's completely different than what he was as I think I was like his like 6th or 7th match, ever. So I think he was brand new. And now here we are a year later, and he did GCW not too long prior. Like, he was really starting to pick up everything. And so it's like, okay, let's tell the story of what happens when the guy who's been riding the complacency train in Tim Dynamite, because he's, been having all these wins handed to him on a silver platter, wrestles the same rookie that is now firing on off all cylinders and doing everything the right way and getting better, and is now matching him here. What happens? And then, that's why, like, little details that, like, again, don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's stuff that I wanted to like practice again for the moment where I get the chance to do that stuff when it does matter. So like, I didn't tan, and I wore pink, and I put my hair in my face and everything like that, because that's who Rulo was. So subconsciously, Tim Dynamite was stooping to what that level of Rulo, what he was. Meanwhile, Rulo has leveled up. So in reality, yeah, we're coming here, but when we met off, like, now we're here. Now he's up here and I'm down here. And we told it with the story with the match. He's kicking out of everything. And it's like, what do I got to do to beat this guy?
Yep.
Again, cheat to win, shoe, DDT. Here we go. Now we go into Mark Raspa Jr., another exceptional talent that I feel like right now people are probably looking over and looking past just because he's not like the biggest guy. And I mean that like compared to like me, like I have a little bit of something, something to me, whereas
Sure.
he like, God bless him as a stick, but he's in really good shape and he's just trying. He's trying. I think people, again, judge a book by its cover. He has something there, and it's like, all right, let's do something. Let's do something with this because we're delaying the rematch with Rulo. We're not giving it to him. And again, shoe, DDT, finish. All right, now we're going to Rulo again. We coaxed Dynamite back into the match, and now we're paying it off. And like to me, I feel like I said, from August to December, like that timeline was like, all right, now we know where we're going here. To the point that now, we got through the Outlast Rumble, which was a blast. It's a shame because this interview was going to line up right after February 6th, and I would have had so much to share with you about like what the fallout of that was going to be. But now we have to wait till March 13th. But I'm telling you right now, what I have done prior to what you're going to see on March 13th was me setting everything up and preparing myself because now I'm really trying to, I'm looking to go. We're putting the burners on and we're ready to again, fire off on all cylinders and really make some magic. I believe, and it's again, ego talking. And I feel you always got to have a little bit of that in you if you really want to make it. You got to carry yourself with a little bit of it. Not too much, not too much. You got to have a little bit of it, unless if you want people walking all over you, you got to, But I feel like the match with Cass, for better or for worse, is going to fundamentally change people's perceptions about independent wrestling locally, of course, because that's all that we can dictate right now. And the goal is to take that and promote that at a level that it will hopefully branch out to other independent markets and see that. And it's because I feel like there's such a subcategory of storytelling that hasn't been tapped into yet. And like that's where I'm aiming to take this. And I'm so excited. And like I said, I wish I could share all the details
No.
now, but
No.
we'll get to it when we get to it.
You did a fantastic job of baiting the hook. Let me tell you that because I mean you're well aware of my admiration for Devious Cass. I think this guy is tremendously talented, and I would be lying if I didn't say that when I initially had the idea of possibly doing live events, like I knew that we were going to do 4 shows for sure, 4 to start with, and to see where it lays at that point. But I knew that I wanted to, if I was going to do this, like I wanted to work with Cass, and he's the guy that I know I'm getting caught up over my words here. I'm sorry, my ADHD is kicking in, but there's just so much between both of you from when you started to where you are now. And again, what's so insane is how young you guys are and how long it has been since you've touched or you guys have been involved in the same ring at the same time. Like when I saw this match get announced, I did, my inner child, inner happy danced, right? Because I know I mean, I can assume what the fuck that I'm about to see, and it's going to be something special because your games have both elevated so much, and it's going to be sick to see what transpires, and I'm looking forward to it, and I know that it's going to be a ride. And I would be remiss if I did not say this and I did not make light of this or make point to say this and get it out there. With the ride that you've been on within Superkrazee, for me, the next logical step for Tim Dynamite is the heavyweight championship. And I feel like that's the ride that we are about to go on. I don't know. My gut just tells me that this is something that we need to strap in and get ready for because I feel like you've been primed. I feel like the last 13 months has been priming to get ready for this next step. And then Hopefully it happens, but I do feel like it's about that time.
I appreciate that. I'll share this with you since we are talking about Cass a lot. And I would be remiss. I understand that we with the occasional hiccup from that Marquee, we've tried to keep things pretty positive this whole time.
I know, here it comes.
So okay, look, let me preface this by saying that I'm not here to steer anybody's perspective on how they feel about people. I'm really not. You know, I'm just here to hopefully open people's eyes to what's really going on so that, like, I'm not saying that what has happened isn't like allowed to have happened, but I want people to know the reality of why things have happened. Because, look, I have known Devious Cass since he was 12 years old, as he likes to tout. Um, and I know his father incredibly well. His father is not very happy with me right now. And I don't fault him because, as a father, somebody's talking the way I'm talking about their son. Yeah, and I know the way that I've approached my dialect hasn't been the most appropriate at times, but I just care so much about pro wrestling. If that isn't obvious from our conversation this entire time, like, I love pro wrestling and I want pro wrestling itself to go on forever, and I want it to be accessible for everybody. And unfortunately, I believe Devious Cass is locked in a culture of independent wrestler that is very dead set on what their perspective and their vision of pro wrestling should and will be. And so, look, again, he and I, again, you said it yourself, we're on the come up here. I will make the argument that the reason for his come up is nowhere near the same reason for my come up. I've talked about the people that he's surrounded himself with. I've talked about the people that he's contacted to keep himself in that conversation. And it's not his fault, because why wouldn't you? If you can leverage every independent wrestler that's better than you or at a level superior to you to get you to that level, take it. That's not what I'm mad about at all. What I'm mad about is the fact that then he'll turn around and talk about how he worked for it. And what he's worked on is his physique, which is phenomenal. He's tightened his physique up because he has to. And he has tried to lay the groundwork for himself by, say, balancing college and wrestling, so he has a backup plan. God forbid something happens and this wrestling isn't the trajectory that his life takes him on. And so I look at that and I go, he's doing what he has to do. But then he turns around and he says that that's what makes him, that's why he's earned his opportunities. I disagree. I believe he has politicked his way to half of his opportunities, and I believe he swindled his way through the other half. Maybe this much, just this much, is genuine hard work. Maybe. But this is what I will say. For all that Devious Cass claims he does or has done, let me explain to you things that I have done or are currently doing to keep myself in the conversation that is so obviously not so obviously um, excluded for somebody like me. I train every week in a pro wrestling ring every week. I tape study every week, Any spare time that I have is to go from one wrestling tactic to another wrestling tactic. I make my own gear. I make my own graphics. These are self-taught trades so that I can give back to pro wrestling. Devious Cass has had a myriad of graphic work and video work done by me. And I have sat down with this kid to teach him these things. And he refuses to pick up and learn them because, in his mind, he'll just pay somebody to do it for him and he'll just keep worrying about the wrestling thing. There's so much more to this than wrestling. He talks about how much time he spends on the road and the places that he travels to. It's so easy to do that when you surround yourself with people that are willing to take that journey with you. I have Storm, but Storm is still at this level. If I want to go out and do things, I have to do that. I can't just reach out, because when I have, it's been turned around on me, because if I'm being honest, I think they view me as a threat. I think they view me as somebody who has the tools and capabilities and can take their spot if I wanted to. And I'm not looking to just take a spot. I'm looking to add a spot, because you said it yourself, pro wrestling is growing. We are in a new time where like anybody can get into it. And there's so much opportunity out there. Yet from my own personal experience, door after door after door after door has been slammed in my face that has been so coincidentally opened up for Devious Cass, because he'll go into the DMs and say, I'm a big fan of you and I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. Is there anything that you can teach me? I'm not interested in kissing up to people. I'm not interested in trying to make people like me. If you're going to make that decision on whether or not I'm worth your time, you've already made it. You've already made it. If I try to kiss up to you, I'm being disingenuous. And that's what I feel like he is. I see the way I watched your interview with him. I watched all of them. Watched the Samuel Fawzi, the Homeless Fawn, watched the Devious Cass, watched them all. And the one that always stood out to me for how disingenuous it was his. Not on your end, but on his end. Because he's so quick to put on the humble, my dad's my hero guy. Yeah, good. My dad's my hero too. But that doesn't determine whether or not I should get opportunities or not. That shouldn't be a determining factor on whether you like or respect me. You should respect or like me for what I bring to the table. And if you don't like or respect me for what I bring to the table, then that's it. That's the end of it. And that's what I've experienced. And again, Devious Cass touts himself as this future prospect. And I pose this question. It's a genuine question that I have. Devious Cass can do a lot of really cool stuff. A lot. And the reality is I can do everything that he does, and I just don't, because then I'd be like everybody else. I can handspring, I can dive, I can flip, I'm 23 years old, 5'7", 175 pounds. If I'm not a freak athlete in that regard, I have to figure it out. I can do that, but I don't. Not because I don't feel like I have to do it, but because I don't want to do it. I don't want to put myself in that category like everybody else. And when you look at Devious Cass and what he does, name me something that he does better than, say, new NXT superstar Eli Knight. And what does Eli Knight do that's just as good as maybe Marcus Mathers? And what can Marcus Mathers do that, is at the level of like a Javon Evans? And what can Javon Evans do that is like at the level of a Seth Rollins? Like that's that category of wrestler that they all trickle back down to. What makes them specifically so much more like special compared to those guys? Because I'll tell you what makes me far more special than people I get compared to. It's been 3 names my entire career: The Miz, MJF, and now Ethan Page, because everybody's now finally starting to give this man his flowers. Though it's this, again, like I alluded to earlier. In my opinion, what they do versus what I do, totally different. The Miz is coasting on tenure, respectfully, to leverage his why. Ethan Page leverages his size to dictate who he is. And MJF is probably one of the most deplorable human beings I've ever seen in my entire life. The things that he does to his opponents in ring are just like, it's so degrading. And it's like, that's not even like, you're not even being a dick. Like, you're just like, you're trying to be a dick, but it's like, you're just being a piece of trash, like actual scum, like actually like to dry hump a dude's face. You know what I mean? I would never stoop to that level as an arrogant guy because I don't need to do that. I'm going to look you in the face. I'm going to tell you why I'm better than you. You can make your arguments and plead your cases, but I'm going to tell you why I'm better than you. And then we're going to find out in the ring. And the difference is that if I lose, I have to take it on the chin. Those other three guys will bitch, moan, and complain and make every excuse imaginable. I don't just do that unless if there's genuine reason to. And there have been genuine reasons in the past. But for the love of God, Marcus Mathers, the first time that we wrestled, he whooped my ass in every capacity. Every capacity. And you didn't see me going out afterwards being like, oh, well, he's just he's wrestled, better place than I have and all that stuff. There's no excuse. I put it upon myself to get better. I look at Devious Cass and I feel like he has all the tangible elements, excluding one, which I'll allude to in a second. And intangibly, he's got it here. He wants it here. I know that, acknowledge that, and respect that. But what he lacks is this. He lacks it here. His mind for pro wrestling is nowhere near the level it needs to be for somebody that is supposed to be next up. The next guy that everybody wants to stick their name to. Respectfully, the problem with Devious Cass is that there's always a better Devious Cass out there. And there has been a consistently better Devious Cass everywhere. I know that there are better Tim Dynamites out there, which is why I don't go out and talk about how I'm the best. Because I will talk about how great I am. I will talk about what I've done and my accolades all day long. But you will never hear me say that I'm the best in the world or one of the best wrestlers in the world. Devious Cass is 18 years old. 18 years old. He can't buy alcohol. If this kid is talking about being the best in the world. He touts about the fact that he surrounds himself with some of the best wrestlers in the world. He's wrestled some of the best wrestlers in the world. Respectfully, the people that I mentioned, I told you, there are people far better than them. Marcus Mathers is not one of the best in the world. Jordan Oliver is not one of the best in the world. And yet, because he's had the opportunity to wrestle these guys, because again, if you know what I know, you know that the way he got there was not what he's presenting. And the fact that he will talk about being the future and being the next up and being the best in the world, all these details, and not having a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of is a disgrace. It's a disgrace. And then he'll talk about the way that the business is. And we talked about the direction it's going. Again, that style of wrestling. I'm not going to name drop everybody because some people don't like their business being put out there, but I'll name drop Jose Zamora specifically because he's the most recent example I can think of. I have so many friends in this business that are trying to keep up with that Devious Cass style because that's what promoters are advertising for their cards as. And God bless you because you really bring in a variety show. Like you are, in my opinion, one of the only promoters right now that is taking the time to be as genuine as you are. A lot of these promoters will say, we got the best of the best of the future. And it's because they wrestle that reckless, dangerous style that is getting everybody hurt. And now I have friends that don't get to chase their dream anymore. They don't get to do that anymore. Me trying to keep up with that style, if I did everything, full transparency, I'm 23 years old, and I'm just now recovering from my neck being in stage 1 degeneration. That was a medically diagnosed condition that when I went to the specialist and they saw it, they took the x-ray of my neck. They were like, what the hell are you doing? Were you involved in like some nasty car accident or something? And you just like no, I'm a wrestler. It's like, what? Oh my gosh, like your neck is like, if you don't correct this now, you're going to have like permanent nerve damage in your neck. And I'm 23 years old and I don't do what Devious Cass does. Devious Cass is pushing that style and saying that that's what it takes to be the best. And it's getting people hurt. And it's keeping guys like me who are trying to do everything the right way, tape studying everything, going to training every week, multiple times a week, wrestling. All those people that I mentioned in that US title open challenge, once it became clear that like we couldn't make it a shoot, those were people that I picked. A bunch of them outside of Mathers, every last one of and Rouleau the first time, every last one of them were people I picked because I believed in them. And I believed that I could stand across the ring from them and make something special with them so we can all give back to wrestling, because that's what people who genuinely love pro wrestling do. All they care about is how they can give back, not what opportunities they can take or moments that they can seize or talent scouts that they can impress. If you're that good, that'll come. That'll come. If you are as good as you claim you are, those moments and those opportunities will come. Case in point, I am not Devious Cass. And yet I am now finally starting to do some of the things that Devious Cass has been getting to do. I had my first booking in Iowa in June. That is the first booking that I will be flying out to take. Devious Cass flies week in and week out. And he flexes that. He flexes that like he earned that. Like he doesn't have people that are covering that for him, because he would go up to them and tell them, "Oh, I'm just 18 years old. I've been doing this since I was 12, and I just want to give back and I want to learn from you guys." Disingenuous. And that's my problem with him. Again, I don't want to make people. I don't want to force them to change their perspective on wrestlers, but I want them to be a little bit more open-minded to what's really going on, rather than just being, open to like what's being told to them, because anybody can tell you anything. Hell, you can easily sit here and hear me saying, you'd be like, well, that's just Tim, saying what he, wants to say. That's his perspective and that's his opinion. And I'm sure subconsciously there's part of you that feels that way. But if you're in this, and those that really know what's going on know just how much I am telling the truth. And it is the reason why I am DM'd on the daily basis. Not people so much as being like, oh, thank you for, pointing this out, but people being like, you're right. I did notice that. What is going on? You know who else noticed that? Thank God he noticed that? Phenomenal talent, Dustin Waller. Dustin Waller put out a video message talking about everybody that he wrestles ends up getting signed, but never him. It's a good fucking question to ask. Why not you? Because Dustin's great. And he can do everything those guys can do. But why not him? It's because of what I'm telling you. It's what I'm telling the people right now. That is the reality. Devious Cass one day, in my opinion, has everything in his toolbox to be that guy. Except he hasn't earned it yet. And I want to expose him now before he goes to that global stage and gets exposed in front of the world. Because we've seen what happens when somebody who's not ready steps up on that global level and gets exposed, and what happens to them. Not naming names, but everybody knows who I'm talking about. I'm trying to help him understand that now. And if that means I got to beat that concept into him on March 13th, that's what we're going to do. And it's the messages on my phone, which is what I'm streaming off of right now. But I want to tell you about the message because everybody was hitting everybody up like, oh, why Superkrazee February 6th get postponed or canceled? They put circumstances out of their control. Easy
Yep.
thing to say. But I'll tell you the message that I got. I got a message from, not going to name anybody in particular, but let's just say this individual has some influence over Superkrazee Pro Wrestling. And this individual sent me a message that said, you need to learn the difference between talking trash and picking fights because now I got to cool everything off. And 5 minutes later, that graphic went out. I don't know. Maybe that's just a conspiracy theorist in me, but like, I don't know. It was the week of, we were ready to go. There was no forecasted snow. There was no issues weather-wise. There were no big events happening in the air. I mean, yeah, you had the Jersey J Cup, but like people that have already they had already made their decision whether or not they were going to go or not. We already knew what the house was looking like, and yet it conveniently got canceled the week of, which was also the night where I really maybe a little too much went off on my true sentiments. Maybe I did that again right now, but again, this is not coming from a place of I want to differentiate this. This is not coming from a place of straight up jealousy. Maybe a little bit, but that's not where it's completely from. It's because I love pro wrestling, and I want pro wrestling to succeed, and I want pro wrestling to be great. I want pro wrestling to be everything. I want to be that guy to kids that those larger than life superstars were to us. I want to be that. Devious Cass is only worried about chasing the best match on the card. He's only worried about who he can befriend to get better opportunities. He's not interested in giving back. And I feel like I have to remind him what it means to give back. And I'm going to force that out of him. So, you want the scoop on what's happening? That's what you're going to see March 13th. You are going to see two guys that have very different perspectives on the way pro wrestling should be. One of them is coming from a genuine place, and that genuine place is going to be the reason why that individual has his hand raised. I said it before, on the epitome of professional wrestling. Like, I mean that. Devious Cass is not.
Man, you unloaded there. That's a lot for me to digest.
A lot, I know.
I there's some definite shots fired, and this has gotten really personal, and it's gotten personal really quick. And I don't know if that building's going to be able to contain what may be coming your way on the 13th of March. If I'm if I'm correct, I hope I
Yeah,
have the date
no,
correct.
like there's a lot of people very upset with me, very upset with me. But it has nothing. I guarantee you, it has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but rather what the implications of what I'm saying entail.
Well, that's the thing. Our mouths can be a blessing and a curse, but they're ours. And I'm the same way. If I have a feeling on it, I'm going to speak it, regardless. So when you talk about opportunities, let me ask you this, and lack thereof, as you're saying, you talk about going to Idaho. It's your first flight out. So if the opportunity presents itself, where are some places that you do want to work? Where are some companies that you want to work with? Where are some places, and it could be internationally, it could be here, domestically in the United States, but where are some places, if you could get the opportunity, where would they be?
Truthfully, like the easy and short answer would be everywhere that Devious Cass is wrestling, because I would show again everybody what like being actually genuine looks like. But for me, truthfully, wrestling open, easy number one. I have a couple people that have told me that if the promoters got the chance to really see me, they would really, really love what I bring to the table. I think from what I've been told, they feel like the style I present and the presentation I present would fit perfectly at Wrestling Open. Um, I would love the opportunity to test that out. Firestar Pro Wrestling is another one. I actually, again, giving back, right? Devious Cass wrestles LeBron Cozone. Who do you think drove LeBron Cozone to and from the airport?
It'll be
And I
you.
got to pick that man's brain. And he told me, because he did a makeshift seminar with us, which Devious Cass conveniently didn't show up for. And we locked up and we worked around a bit. And he goes, "You have a really good like feel for how wrestling like moves, like how the flow of it goes." And it was like to me that was a huge compliment because this is the trainer of Javon Evans and Jackson Drake talking to me here. Like he knows talent. He has cultivated talent, and he himself is one. Like I'm so mad at myself that I didn't know about him sooner. He is one freaking animal in the ring. Just one of the strongest dudes on the planet. Vegan strong, scary strong is vegan
Mm-hmm.
strong. But yeah, Firestar is his organization. Would love the opportunity. That's based out of, I believe, North Carolina. Um, I would say maybe House of Champions is another fun one. I attended a seminar with Kakoa, and now his perspective on wrestling was really fun to pick up and learn from. So I think the opportunity to like hit like those markets, like to me, we got the Northeast, we've got the mid coast area, and then we got the South on the East Coast. And I feel like those three markets, if I could hit all three of them, um, I can maybe really like expand my um, my clout. Maybe
Yeah.
is the way to put it. I can expand my reach for
Yeah,
sure.
100%. And it's fun. It's great that you mentioned Keikoa because he's a good friend of ours, and so is the House of Champions. We do a lot of work with the House of Champions. I'm obviously based in Florida, and the HOC is about 2 hours from my front door. So we do a lot of stuff, and I would love to see that opportunity get it presented to you, and to be able to get down here and do a little bit of stuff. Because obviously I'm well synced in Florida. That's never a problem. And I think that Dynamite needs to be seen for sure. I do want to touch
I
on this. I got a couple
appreciate
more
that.
questions for you, but I do want to touch on this because I know we're running long, and I do apologize. So obviously we touched on it before we went on the air, and I want to make mention of it now. When we had the opportunity through Fight Pro to sponsor you and Samuel Fawzi, the first go around, I believe it was like a 4-way or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And it was between you guys and Primal Fear. I'm sure you saw the show with Samuel, so you know how you reacted to it. I want to get your take and your perspective, knowing that on our channel with the guys that work with me on our channel, when presented with the idea of sponsoring, I said we can only do one team. Who do you guys want to do? Samael and Dynamite? Or you want to do Primal Fear? Unanimously, it was Samael and Dynamite. So we were able to do that, and then of course Ernie, F that guy, turned right back around in the next booking between you two, put you guys up against each other, and then has the audacity to send me a DM and say, "Hey, do you want to sponsor Skid Row again? Because they're wrestling Primal Fear." And I had already cussed him for the initial because I told him it was a difficult choice to get between Primal Fear and you guys. So then I ended up doing the match, right? Because I'm not gonna shun Primal Fear a second time. But the getting the initial from our co-host, man, like all of them said you guys, and I just kind of want to see what you thought about that.
Yeah. Really cool, obviously, because like I had mentioned, I forgive me because like it's me that's making this go long because I've had a lot to say. But
You're fine.
I
I got plenty of time.
um it was like it was a deal where I looked at that and I can't remember if like I said if we talked about this before we went on the air or while we were on the air, but like I like those are our trainers,
Mm-hmm.
and these are former Ring of Honor talents briefly, pre-pandemic. had the opportunity taken from them, when the pandemic hit, and they've been really fighting to work their way back up in the grand scheme of things. And I feel like they're all very underrated talents in their own mind, and they're in their own right. Um, and so the fact that you picked us, it was like, oh, because like we to the Skid Row Academy and its students, we are they always tout us as the measuring stick of what it takes. And I feel like that's always been a dangerous game to play, because then if we don't deliver the way that, and if it's through no fault of our own, like it really demoralizes the students. And the fact that you guys took a chance on us and have been taking chances on us, it really brought the environment up for sure at Skid Row. And yeah, like it was a deal where I knew for a fact that the choice wasn't obvious. If I were in your shoes, and I would see that perspective, like that is not an obvious choice, because now knowing how much you care about the future, but then understanding like how freaking sick Primal Fear are, it's like, we love all these guys, but we got to make a decision here. So the fact that you guys picked us meant the world. And if my memory serves me correctly, that was the match where we secured our first points for Fightt Pro by pinning Primal Fear in that four-way tag.
Yeah.
And then subsequently went on to beat Primal Fear again in the singles match. So not to say maybe that was the correct choice, because again, everybody that all Primal Fear, they're my trainers, and I can't say enough really, 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 really positive things about them. But I would maybe think that it was the safer choice in the grand scheme of things. Hindsight 2020. I believe if we're not currently ranked number one tag in the division right now, we're definitely ranked number two. But we are definitely in contention for a future tag title opportunity. And I've heard some rumblings through the grapevine that there's some talent that they're going to test us up against that are really going to hopefully raise our stock. So again, like, not to say you made the right call, because I don't like to be Samuel Fawzi. Shame on you for being like, yeah, that was the right call. Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you, Fawzi. That's my tag partner. Shame on you. But yeah, maybe hindsight 2020, that was the move.
No, man, for me it was more like I think so it's not difficult, but it is, because you have to look at it from a different lens. And there are so many podcasters out there, and there are so many people that do their own stuff. And for me, it's always about being genuine and being authentic. And it's always about, as you've said, you've alluded to several times on the show, it's about giving back. So for me, you have to understand my mentality. Coming in with this platform, there was zero expectations, because I didn't think that this would even be a thing, right? It was just me and my friends watching wrestling. And when the idea of doing the indies popped in my head, man, I'm not going to lie. I had, smoked a joint, and I threw a dart at the wall, and it landed in Australia. I had a map on the wall, and I said, let's find a show in Australia. And that's where this thing started from. And now it's organically grown. I don't advertise. I don't go out and buy advertisements. I do the sponsorships, but to me that is its own advertisement. But it's about, how do you give back? Because when this platform started, we started at zero. SKPW is one of the first companies that we watched. And what I did back then that none of you know is when we were watching, and we still do, I watch and see who hugs us back. And if we get the hug back, now it's like, all right, you appreciate what we're doing, and you understand the concept. And then the audience starts to grow. So then it becomes, how do you give back? Because at that point in time, we weren't making money. I don't want to make money off of anyone else's work. How do I give that back? Well, then that's where sponsorships come in. And when I'm connected to companies, and it started with, while you have your issues, it started with Cass. It started with Vaughn. It started then, I built a relationship with Tiberius Asante through a spot through SKPW. I call him the Mac fucking truck. Where do you think that came from? It came from me calling him that, and he started picking up on it, and he started doing it, and he started calling himself that at that point. And then it just boils down to you got to give back. So our money goes into the sponsorships because I know that some companies, not all of them, some of them give you the full fucking percentage of the sponsorship. And I also know, just based off of me throwing my little reel out there, that some of you guys, and I'm not saying you specifically, in general, some guys go and work for free. But if you get sponsored, at least you got an opportunity to make a little bit of money outside of going and selling your gimmicks. So there's a lot of different facets behind it. At the end of the day, it's how do you say thank you? Because you've entertained us. Not just me, the hundreds of thousands of people that watch us on a monthly basis. You've connected with them. And that's how you do this. And that's how we do this. And that's why we do this. It's just the ultimate, to me, it's the ultimate way of saying thank you. Because you were there when we started. You were there when we were nobodies. And you were there and you hugged us back and you said, we appreciate you. That's how this shit happens. That's as real as it gets. Not everybody out there does that. Not everybody out there has that authenticity. Not everybody out there genuinely has the best interest for their guest and for the show. They want clickbait. I'm not a clickbait guy. I don't give a fuck about clickbait. The end of the day with any of these shows is to make you look like the rock star. What can I find in this time that we have that I can put out there that is going to draw attention for you and to use this audience for you guys? Because y'all are the ones entertaining us. And I think that's a big piece of what makes us a little bit special. It took time. And even to this day, I have podcasters that hit me up almost weekly for advice, which I never thought would be a thing. Keep in mind, we only have 16 or 1,700 followers on Instagram, but we are drawing over 750,000 eyeballs. So we're doing something in the right direction, right? And I'm not saying this to gas up this platform or gas up anything by any means. I'm just saying that I tell these guys the same thing. Be authentic. Don't be fake. People will see through it. More importantly, if you're trying to talk to talent, they're going to see through it. And if they see through it, then everything that you're trying to do is going to be pointless. Because what will happen? Don't talk to those people. Guy's a fucking douchebag. Guy was an idiot. Didn't do his homework. Didn't know what he was talking about. Because this is how this thing works. It's building that credibility. So the first piece of it was to say thank you. And the second piece of it is that's how we do this and why we do this. Sorry, that was
but that's the thing is like that's like one of those things that like I feel like you have to like sit there and like sit on that for a minute, because like that's what this is all about. And I feel like and I knocked on him for however long I did. It's not a Devious Cass problem. It's an independent wrestling problem. There's like you mentioned, there's so many people out there that are just in it for the highlight reel. They're in it for the clicks. They're in it for the what can you do for me? And like the fact that there are people, because I hate being the guy to like reach out first for a lot of things, but if it's something that like I genuinely believe in and want to engage with and know, like I will swallow my own pride to tell that person or tell that entity that I'm really liking what they're doing, and like you did that for us. And like it's a deal where how many independent wrestling companies, big or small, are out there? Like, let's be real. Okay. How many independent wrestlers are out there? There's this guy, I know, like you have like a segment where you talk about people to watch. Like there's like all these guys like I'm bringing up. I bring up their names for a reason. I went to PPW, did a pre-show like four corners trios match, nightmare match to try and structure on the surface. But I was in there with some really credible talents that were able to kind of get the ball moving. But while I was there, there's this guy Matthew Yeager, and I watched his match. He was in the main event, and this dude is in Harrisburg, which to me, where I live, means Streets of Royersford, Pennsylvania, is about give or take a 2 hour drive, 2.5 hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
And but like on the planet, that is such a small traveling distance compared to the globe. And I didn't know who this guy was. And he's been doing it. And he's been consistently that great from what I saw. I watched him like, oh my goodness. One of the things like I want to credit him for that, like he did that. I'm sure you'll appreciate this as somebody who likes those little details. He did a spot where the baby face that he was wrestling had a manager at ringside. And when he hit the ropes, when Matthew Yeager hit the ropes, he pretended like the manager tripped him. Manager didn't do anything. Ref didn't see anything. He just sees him get tripped. And then he turns around like, what are you doing? Referee tosses the manager out. I'm like, oh my goodness, what a play on a cliche concept. Heel managers always get tossed for getting involved, but babyface manager for not getting involved still gets tossed? Genius. Genius.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the type of talent that exists, that's out there that people don't know about, that I didn't know about. So when you look at that, it's like, again, when people talk about the best in the world talk, again, I've said everything I wanted to say about Cass. I'm not going to keep harping on that. It's not just him again. There's so many people that do it. So many people that say, I'm the best in the world. Look around you. Look at the globe. Look at the world. And like, realistically, like, set your expectations for like what you're going to see. Cause like you think you're all that. And like for me, from personal experience, like prior to it, transitioning into Lineage Pro Wrestling, I was at the Monster Factory weekly before they made their switch, and I decided I wanted to break into that. I got my way in there. I was 15 minutes up the road from Superkrazee. 15 minutes. I walked out there to crickets. I had just got done defending the United States Championship against Rulo, and big, boo, you suck, all that shit. Everybody got to the locker room, said my thank yous, made sure everybody was good before I left because I didn't want to just leave the locker room high and dry like that. But I there are people that take multiple bookings in one day that are just quick to be like, yeah, I'm in and I'm out. Like I wanted to make sure everybody was good, but then I'm going to go do this because this is going to be really beneficial to me. And I went to go, and it was a completely brand new audience, 15 minutes up the road.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like humble yourself for a second and go, whoa. And the fact that out of all the organizations, you said you're based out of Florida, you should be looking at House of Champions. You should be looking at Coastal Championship Wrestling, I believe. Yep. Johnny Nova is, funny enough, a talent that competes at Coastal Championship Wrestling that just started coming back. He was one of the guys that like was kind of making the rounds in the Northeast when I first broke in. He was the guy that would help, get me up to H2O when we were there. Like, he's another guy I want people to keep an eye on. But like, I would expect that to be your bubble, because there's no reason why you would have to look anywhere else, but you chose to look elsewhere, and you landed on us. However you landed on us, doesn't matter. You landed on us. You landed on Superkrazee Pro Wrestling, which there are people that when I say that company name means nothing to them. Not because we're not trying to kill it, and we're not trying to, bust our asses and make it the best thing possible, because we are. It's not like Superkrazee itself isn't shit. It's just that to them, what's it matter to them? What's it to them? But to you were like, I want to see these guys. I want to learn about these guys. I want to watch them grow. Like, to me,
it's the work. It's the work. It's the in-ring work.
To me, that's what matters. That's what means the world. And so yeah, like that's why like everything that you said, like I wanted to like again, I talk a lot. I wanted to immediately just jump on that, but I had to sit there and be like, yeah, yeah.
It's a
How about
lot,
that?
man. It's a lot. I tell people all the time. Even had this conversation with my mother today, as a matter of fact. Way earlier today. There's some situations going on that I've come to the decision, and I'm just like, you know what, Mom, I'm tired of working for other fucking people. I'm about to start working for myself. That's the 2026 is it. I'm done with corporate America for 2026. They can fuck off. I'm gonna put my eggs in this basket and I'm gonna run with it because I see how far it's come. And what I do know is that there is fantastic talent fucking everywhere. Every company out there deserves, in my opinion, to at least have a look. Whether or not the talent can draw us in is up to the talent when we're watching on whatever particular show we actually watch, right? Like we don't ever know. It's no context. That's the name of the game. But then when we find those companies, and not every company is a go back to. There's if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. But the companies that do click and do resonate, yeah, absolutely. And it's not just me. Like I said, it's my audience. I listen to them. If they want to see it, buddy, we're going to watch it. If they want to be a part of it, then we're going to figure out how. And we're going to figure out how to make it work for everybody. Like between us, and I hope this don't get no heat. There was a point in time, like I always evolve, like the channel. We talked about the Undertaker, how it evolves his character. I evolved the channel back in 2025, in the beginning of 2025, when we first started making a little bit of money. I was like, I wonder how we can give this back. So I would hit up companies and I'd say, hey, don't know how much this is going to be. We get a payout on the 15th. I want to send it to you as a thank you. Use it for whatever. It could be $50, it could be $200, it could be 500. I don't ever fucking know. I don't know until it hits the account. It hit up Superkrazee, and they were the only company to say, you know what? No, don't do that. Give it to another company. We just appreciate the fact that you're watching our stuff, because I was going to send them a payout and say, put it towards whatever you want to put it towards. If it's towards talent, if it's towards production, whatever, like just whatever it was made. But that was another thing that I just thought was really cool. And I've not had conversations with them often, like the people who run it, the company. I haven't, outside of just a couple of DMs here and a couple of DMs there. But the fact that there was an opportunity there, and they were just like, no, you know what? We just appreciate you watching. That's it. And that says a lot. That's a testament to the company itself. Now, we talked a little bit about some companies that you do want to get into get into. Excuse me. I'll get my words right. I fucking promise. There are some people out there that you want to work with that are on the independent scene. So, ultimately, maybe.
So I want to wrestle people that offer something different. Like I've wrestled at this point. I've had the opportunity to wrestle some of those wrestlers. You know what I mean? Some of those guys that like maybe aren't. They're lacking a little bit in the personality department, but fuck, can they go? I talk about. I don't care if anybody gets sick of me bringing his name up, but like Mathers, like wrestling him was very easy to like feel like, wow, okay, levels, levels. But like I now have the pleasure and privilege of doing that 3 times. So like I don't need that anymore, and like it took me a second to be like, all right, I was gunning after like the Alec Prices and to an extent maybe the Jordan Olivers as well, but like I wasn't like dead set on that because it's like, well, I've had that match before, just with a different body, and that's not a knock on those guys. That's just the style, I don't think that will add any more value to what I'm trying to build here. I want to wrestle people that are different. Top of the list right now to me is Ryan Clancy. Fancy Ryan Clancy, just real throwback, like throwback in every sense of the word. And his style is, again, it's different because nobody does it. Nobody's doing that style. Nobody's wrestling that style right now. And it's like, I can do something with that. And he and I have spoken briefly about concepts of that. I know he's down just as much as I'm down, so hopefully we can line something like that up. Julesy is another talent. He is currently tag teaming with Rulo. Julesy, again, just the the dolphin with an afro. Like that's the best way that I don't know what the hell he is, right? But what I do know is that he sticks out and brings something completely different than everybody else. And it's like that dichotomy. I'm always looking for that dichotomy and that juxtaposition. I'm looking for that because that's where the real interesting stories come from. So, Ryan Clancy, Julesy, Wilson Dyer, again, if he wants to throw down, you know what I mean? Like I'm all for. I don't know much about him. Now that I know that there's interest, I will do my due diligence and take a look and watch and study and see what I can pick up from this guy and what I can learn. And yeah, if he wants it, I want it. I want anybody that wants to fight, truthfully,
Yeah.
But like again, for me, I want different. And those two are the ones that I can tell you offhand right now because I see them all the time and like I know of them. Like there's plenty of other guys that like I've actually made promises to, like, all right, because I do have a little bit of pull on who I can wrestle at Superkrazee. Like I'm gonna make time. We're gonna figure it out. But like we got an agenda right now that we got to push, and unfortunately, that's just the direction we got to go. But we're gonna get there. And there's a you talk about the next generation. There's guys younger than Cass that are ready to step up. Cameron Pierce, this kid Ezra Coleman, Caden Hernandez, and the original MF. The original MF, honestly, mini me. That's the best way I would describe mini me. But again, he's still different because I portray like a bit more like maybe like that fall into that upper class style character. He falls a little more on that MJF style, but like less degrading, less raunchy. He's also a child, so you know. But like we're talking like you know these guys are just as hungry, and like I would love I've had the privilege of wrestling like all of them at some point in time. I think with the exception of the original MF, but I they're next up in my opinion. They want it, and they're going to try to take it. Um, like I'm just trying to search high and low. There's definitely um very, very, I feel like there's so many more interesting stories to tell with people that I have wrestled already or people that I've gotten the chance to interact with. There's a guy, Sebastian Valentino.
Okay.
Uh, Again, another guy. So I've wrestled numerous times, but he is a complete polar opposite of what I bring to the table. And so I would like to tell that story. I think personally, like this is me being a little selfish here, but like there are super crazy guys that I want to put over specifically here as guys that I want to wrestle, but like
Sure.
for whatever reason, logistically, it doesn't make sense. Maybe we're on the same side of the coin. So like logistically us fighting each other, it doesn't work. There's a guy, Patrick Raymond, who is just a student of the game and is just absorbing everything. And still very, very new, very, very new, very new. Less than, I think you can count on like maybe two hands, but still with fingers to spare the number of matches he's had. So I would love to be able to almost kind of take like a veteran role in that match and kind of challenge myself to be able to work him through something like that because I feel like he offers so much value. I feel like I owe Daniel Asensio a new one now that he's evolved himself a little bit.
You're talking about a good story. That
You
was
know,
one that I
like
wanted to touch on earlier when you were going through the U.S. title tournament. That was one
yeah,
where we had really just started really getting into it, man, and that was perfect. I mean,
it was
right? You
fun.
you talk about right place, right time. That crowd
Yeah,
reception on point. They knew the motherfucking assignment that night. and it was something special. I clipped that segment. I think I clipped our reaction to it and put it out there when it happened. It was that good.
Nice, nice. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was he like my deal when I'm name dropping these super crazy guys is I feel like these are guys that like because they're not really allowed to touch me or Fawzi or Cass, not because that like they're just not allowed to have those matches. It's just that from a fan's perspective, we can't sell that to them yet because the logistically a lot of who we are as talents, it's just too. It's not the right time yet. Like you mentioned, the timing, it's just not the right timing for certain talents. But like I would love, like I feel like those guys, like there's a crop of them that are just like right there that
But
just need those matches with guys like Fawzi and Cass to like.
Think about this though. Think about when it is time for that. And you know, you're talking about it now, you're wanting to do it now, but think about if it's a year from now with some of these guys, or maybe it's 2 years from now. Who knows? Think about how far you're going to go in that time frame with what you're doing and honing in on your craft, because as good as you are now, that's what I say about it, people. You're only going to be getting that much better. And the same can be said for all of these other people that you're mentioning. And here's what's real scary. And this is something that I mentioned to a lot of the guys that I do see a lot of really good potential in that can do something in this industry much longer term. And you're definitely one of them. This is what's scary for how good you are right now at 23. Your prime is about 13 or 14 years away. And that's right now based on current, right? Prime is in that 35 to 45 range. As we progress with taking care of ourselves and as we progress with taking care of our bodies, it prolongs that and it extends that period. So if you're this good now, how fucking good are you going to be when you actually hit your prime in professional wrestling? That is scary.
That's
In
what
a
it's all
good
about.
way.
That's what we got to get to, you know. And that's the truth is that the only way I get there is by continuing to put in just as much effort, if not far more than what I'm doing right now. And I'll know, like you can always tell when somebody's faking effort, you know. And my deal is like there are times where I'll catch myself being like, yeah, maybe I don't have to, maybe I don't have to. And it's like, but remember, so and so's got your dream job right now, and you like one of the things we do at the Skid Row Academy is we tape study weekly television, and one of the things we do is we tape study NXT. A lot of that also helps with the fact that one of the lead talent scouts there, if not the lead talent scout, Gabe Sapolsky for WWE. I've attended his seminar in person, and he said, "Evolve in NXT. That's your competition. You need to be watching that." I studied that when Level Up was a thing. I was studying Level Up, and I pick up on details like, oh, they lock up perpendicular to hard cam, probably for the side profile so that they can get everything. Nobody's got their back to hard cam. You know, things that like I'm picking up on those little things. I sit there and I watch these talents, and with all due respect to a bunch of them, a lot of them are just maybe comfortable is the word that I would use, and I think it's because they don't know this part of the journey. They've never experienced it. And some of them, maybe they got pulled in real quick, and so they don't have to think about that. Maybe they never got to settle into that style and that experience. And so I believe that, you know, if they're there and I'm not, it's like, okay, I could bitch. Easy thing to do is to bitch. And believe me, if you see the Discord chats of our conversations that we have in the chat with you know the students and stuff like that, talking about I'm the biggest bitcher. But there's a reason why they're there. I'm not. That's reality. So now I have to like examine what I can only control myself right now. I have to get better. That's all I'm thinking about.
Well,
so
and you are, and like I said, it's it's dangerously good to see how far you've come in just a short period to where I think you're going to go and how far you're going to go. I'll make a very bold statement, and I've only said this. We've probably had well over 100 conversations with people on the scene, and I probably have said this 3 times, maybe. But you are one of those cats that I see in the next 10 years. I see you at WrestleMania. I see you on that stage because you're dangerous with the microphone, which is fantastic to see. And your psychology within your work, it's only getting better and better and better as this progresses and as you progress. And this is going to be a beautiful ride. This is going to be a very beautiful ride with you, and it's going to be something that is going to be one that I'll be able to look back on and 5-10 years from now and say, I remember this guy when he was rocking some Speedo trunks. And
God bless.
so
lest we forget Trunks Dynamite.
Nope, we'll make a point to keep Trunks Dynamite a thing. So you did mention earlier, you talked about it, about people we should be watching. I know that obviously there's a lot of people out there at Superkrazee that we've talked a little bit about. Who else out there, in your perspective, from people that you've been in the ring with and those that you've worked with, who do you think we should be watching, that we should be putting some spotlight on?
So this is a slippery slope, but I'm a play it because there's only so many names that I can recall off the top of my head, and there's only so many names that I feel like people are going to be able to have access to watching, because not a lot of guys. There's some guys that don't have a lot of media out there just yet that I would feel comfortable dropping their names. Otherwise, I would. What I will do is I'll mention 3 names in particular. And I'm actually I don't know how many people do this, but I'm gonna switch it up a little bit from what I think most of the male talents will do. I have 2 male prospects that people should be watching and 1 female prospect that people should be watching.
Perfect.
And prospect is a very generous way of putting it, because this is far more than just a prospect if you know who this person is. So I feel like Brian Morse, Wonder Boy Brian Morse, and the Guarantee Mike Z are 2 guys that are going to have a breakout 2026. They're the ones that I see starting to travel a lot. And getting to know them, I think they're fantastic human beings. It's scary. People will joke about oh, you glazing Brian Morse up so much for it, because honestly, I think the world of this guy. If I were to if I were to craft in a lab, build a prototypical professional wrestler, it would be Wonder Boy Brian Morse. His facial expressions, his in-betweens, his look, and his character presentation, the way he carries himself, the confidence, all of it. It's like that is a television talent right there. And I joke all the time, when we share locker rooms, I'm like, I don't know why I'm sitting next to you right now. What are you doing here? Respectfully, yeah. What are you doing here? He's currently one half, I believe, still one half of the Wrestling Open Tag Team Champions. So, and he's getting those phone calls for those spots a lot. So, but yeah, him, Mike Z, somebody that I've gotten to know. I first actually met him at Pro Wrestling R, which again, the next time you could watch Pro Wrestling R, Pi Day, or as I'm going to refer to it as National We Hate Marquee Day, March 14th, the Blueprint, as I defend the Rise title in that triple threat match. That's where I met him. And he has only gotten better. He, like me, has gone through a lot of the growing pains with the starting to form yourself as legitimate talent. He also kind of played that chicken shit role, but to a point where it's you can't take him seriously, and he stepped it up. He really has. And I think he's gonna have a breakout year. So those are my 2 male prospects. Obviously, again, very easy to talk about everybody else that I've mentioned. I feel like since you have already started watching Rulo, I would definitely dive into Julesy a bit. Keep watching Rulo, absolutely. Rulo, again, not that he didn't earn his keep and not like he didn't work his way up there. That was 100% a personal pet project for me. That is like, okay, you're with me. And there were people at Superkrazee that were ready to throw him out. I mean that. That's not a knock on him. It's just that they have their goals and their goals didn't involve him. And I was like, nope, keep him around, please. Please keep him around. Just trust. And I think that worked out. So yeah, if you're familiar now with Rulo a bit, I watch Yulesy. Female side, and there's a few, but it's only because I've gotten to know this individual a lot more recently, which is funny because if you asked me this question, like, oh, did you think you would get to like actually know this person, like 2-3 years ago, I'd be like, nah, I think we're always just gonna like miss each other. You know what I mean? That would be the Notorious Mimi. She briefly was signed to NXT as Sloane Jacobs. Signed as she described it herself. This is something that she has been open about. As far as I know, she said that signed off of potential and potential alone. And I think it was like a budget cut scenario that they like to that they were advertising. But you want to talk about somebody who's genuinely hungry to get back and has been doing everything to get back. Probably one of the only female talents that checks all the boxes right now. And again, just somebody that wants it. Like for me, like I said, for her, to me saying this about her, like, what the fuck am I going to tell? Like for those former TV talents, what the fuck am I going to tell you? You know what I mean? But I am at least in tune enough with pro wrestling to recognize when somebody is deeply passionate about giving back. And I remember one of my first experiences in ring with her, in fact, as up to date right now, is like the only in ring experience, was the Turkey Slam Rumble in 2024. She walked around the whole locker room because she was number 1 or number 2, something like that. She walked around the whole locker room and said, I'm trying to take a move from everybody in the Turkey Slam Rumble. I want you to tell me what we're doing. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm taking a move. It was like spots. It was sequences. And she remembered I was like there was like 40 people in that match. And I think I was entrant number 32. And the reason why I remember that is because I was also number 32 for this past year's Turkey Slam Rumble. And she remembered exactly what and she called it to me. Like as I'm in the ring, she's like, all right, weave through Pele. Like she knew what I was hitting. And it was like, God bless. That is, to me, like those 3 names in particular, picking their brains, sitting down with them, getting to know them a little more, to me, world class talents. Again, there's so many people. Nick Batti's another one that I feel like people just got to look at. Mm-hmm. Please, everybody, be watching Nick Batti. You want to talk about a guy that is just firing off on all cylinders. That guy. But again, trying to be reserved here because we'll be here all night.
Yeah.
Brian Morris, Mike Z, Notorious Mimi, I think are 3 talents that are going to have very big 2026s.
Nick Batti is somebody that I want to get on the show at some point, and I just got to figure out. Oh my God! I think that I know. I think our personalities would click.
You would have the funniest time because he is a quick little anecdote. 2 people have ever, because I did that whole like, oh, I do this by myself thing, which is true. Okay. And I don't have people that are reaching out to help. True. It's true. With the exception of 2 people, which is Wonder Boy Brian Morris and the Focus Nick Batti. I drove up with Nick Batti to Wrestling Open. This was the Rhode Island Wrestling Open. So it was about like, I think because we had to sit in the car, we had to stop for a second. I think it was like a 6-hour road trip in total. And we got a hotel, and full transparency, not to put his business out there, this is the type of guy he is. Didn't let me pay for a thing. I offered. I said, what can I throw in here? Like, because I'm not stupid. This is a hotel and food and making sure everything. But like he wanted like gas, everything, all of it. Like, just get me up there and I'll drive back, and that's all it is. And to this day, that's what it's been. But what I will tell you is he has some really, really creative ideas. And when it is 4:00 in the morning, that man's brain is still firing off generational ideas that nobody has ever even possibly conceived of. And I remember it's literally 4 o'clock in the morning, and we have to leave the hotel at 8. Okay. And the entire night he was just like, he would like grab me and be like, all right, what if I did this? And he was like manipulate my body in ways to like run a spot. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that'll work. He's go, 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 go. He loves wrestling so much. And his mind is so sharp for it that it's 4 o'clock in the morning and all the lights are off. And I turn my head to face away where we got the 2 beds. He's across the room. No reason why we should be having a conversation anymore. And I just hear him. I was thinking about, like, we can maybe do this and then something like that. And then we go here. And I literally like turned over. I go, Nick, it is 4 o'clock in the morning. We have to be up at 8. I'm going to bed. You will have I honestly, you might as well wrap up the show like after, like, you should never interview anybody. I mean that, not a knock on anybody, but like that is like the conversation can never be topped. I'm telling you, I've had conversations to this day that I go, man, if I was here talking with Nick, this would be far better. I'd be enjoying myself so much more right now. Like I cannot stress enough. Please, whatever you can do to make that happen for yourself.
I'm
for
definitely
yourself,
working
if
on
not
it.
for anybody else.
He hit me up about some sponsorship stuff, and I responded to him. I just don't know if he ever saw it. I was just like, yeah, tell me what companies and who do I need to reach out to. Put me in touch with who I need to be put in touch with, and we'll figure something out. But I think I think it's fucking hilarious. And I can't believe that we went 2 hours on this show tonight, and it took 2 hours for us to get to the goddamn Pele kick. So Dallas Dash is going to be kicking me, literally, when he sees me again, because it took that long to get here. And I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it with the Pele. So Dallas is, he's young. He's 24. And I booked him on our first show after he came in and talked to me on a Beyond the Bell, and there was just something there. Like, there's just something, we connected, and there was just something there. And lo and behold, as I'm introducing him to our platform, right, and not only he's a talent, he's also coming in and doing some co-hosting stuff. Got to put him in front of some Superkrazee. Like, that was just, at some point, it's got to get there. And brother saw your Pele, and to this day, with any other Pele that he sees on a stream or off a stream, it is a direct comparison to yours and how they need to do better. So shout out to the Pele kick from
Shout out to the Pele kick. We worked on that. It used to be mad crooked. It's still kind of crooked, but I like it. I like a little bit of crookedness with the Pele. I think the straight backflip Pele you kind of run the risk of looking like everybody else's. But like, we worked on that Pele for the longest time. I'm glad people like it. Yeah. It's certainly funny enough. It's like my mom, like most people in my family, are petrified that I'm doing this wrestling thing. They just want me to be okay. They want me to be healthy, family stuff.
Sure.
My mom will message me and nothing else but the Pele kick. That's her favorite move. She doesn't care about anything else that I do, any of the promos, any of the matches, none of that. I was a good Pele.
We love Mama Dynamite.
Mama Dynamite.
Well, listen, Tim, this has been everything that I could have asked for and more of a conversation to be able to sit down and talk to you after so long for watching and just following along and being able to just be on a piece of the journey that you're about to take is going to be fantastic. And again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but you will definitely be coming to a chapter at some point to have a good time with us, and amongst other things that we've got moving and shaking in the future, man. I can't wait to see what happens, and I'm so thankful that you gave so much time tonight, actually, to sit down and just chat, man. So is there anything else that you want to plug or anything that you want to throw out there?
I guess we'll go through it one more time, just real quick. The 2 big things that are on the calendar coming up. March 13th, Friday night, Fully Charged, Gloucester City, New Jersey, Tim Dynamite versus Devious Cass. I mean this wholeheartedly when I say the direction of professional wrestling rides on how this match ends. And I'm telling you, if you can find any reason to be there, be there. Please be there so you can watch history itself unfold before your very eyes. and DeMarcus Marquee. Cry about it. We got the day after 3.14, March 14th. Pro Wrestling R presents the Blueprint from the Mecca in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Again, triple threat action. I defend my Rise Championship against Brando Lee and Bobby Buffet, two talents that I'm actually surprised I didn't talk too much about. I don't know much about Brando Lee. I hear a lot about Brando Lee. I'm excited for that. Bobby Buffet and I have crossed paths numerous times. In fact, in Pro Wrestling R Action, one of the only people that have successfully defeated me. Of course, I wasn't Pro Wrestling R Rise champion at the time, and I definitely wasn't the competitor I am now. I believe that triple threat match is going to be the match to watch. It's main evented by, as far as I know, Fancy Ryan Clancy versus Isaiah Wolf, defending the Pro Wrestling R Heavyweight Championship. That is 100% a money fight. If you're at Pro Wrestling R working against Isaiah Wolf, that is a money match. But just like that is for the heavyweight title division, for the Rise title division, this is the match. This is the match. And I guarantee you that's the reason why I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be nice. That's why that individual named Marcus Marquee wants this fight. This is the fight right here. So that's what I got coming up. Again, tickets can be purchased at the door for Superkrazee Pro Wrestling. Tickets are available now. Link in bio of the Pro Wrestling R Instagram page for their Blueprint event.
And I'm telling you guys, if you can get out and see Tim in person, you probably need to make that happen. And the easiest way that you can show your support, if you cannot make an event, maybe you can't get a t-shirt and you can't get some merchandise, what you can do is you can follow. That costs you nothing. And you can like, share, and subscribe. That costs you nothing as well. Tim Dynamite _ is where you can find just about everything. If not everything, Tim Dynamite.
It's very rare you can get all your handles the same. Like, there's a Tim Dynamite out there that is not a wrestler, not branding anything. That's just his handle. He's got like the original Tim Dynamite, no fancy tricks. Maybe if I got enough clout one day, I'll try to buy that handle. But for now, yeah, that _ is where we're at. And that's definitely where you're going to find everything. Thank goodness I can at least leverage that.
There you go. Guys, hit the follow button. We've been following him for 2 years, and this has been a tremendous ride, and it's only getting started. And that's what's dangerously entertaining about all of this, is it's just getting started. For my guest tonight, Mr. Tim Dynamite, I am Chris Page, and we will see you next time.